Chào tất cả mọi người, hôm nay mình đi làm Home Inspection. Căn nhà này xây năm 1961. Thì đây là Dennis Home Inspection mà mình hay nhờ đi kiểm tra nhà giúp mình. Dennis sẽ chia sẻ với tất cả mọi người là khi các bạn đi mua nhà cũ thì các bạn nên để ý những cái điểm nào ha.
So today we're looking at a wonderful fourplex or split level, sorry. The biggest thing that I look for on an exterior of a home is always the structure. Concrete is my number one concern, but I see a lot of wood basements, so I'm a huge fan in either way. When I'm looking at a roof, I look at, for the age of the home, sometimes we have issues with how it was constructed in the past. Now we have what's called engineered trusses. So the things that we look for normally on a garage is we need to define roof vents. We need to define airflow in our attic space. When we're looking at shingles, we have so many varieties of shingles now. Here we have a typical architectural double laminate. This particular shingles life cycle is in around 30 years. Based on the sun and how the sun hits it will also create some concerns as well. From airflow to the life cycle, from the sun exposure, all of this defines the age of the shingles. Right now, what I'm looking at on this roof, I believe this roof is around maybe 5 years old, maybe even newer. The things that I hate to see are trees that are overgrown. And when you're seeing this much, you try to imagine, how can I clean my gutters out? How can I prevent my house from always being in the wet environment? So air around the exterior, keeping your gutters clean and avoiding all of the leaves and debris. So we're talking about maintenance in the fall. We're talking about maintenance in the springtime. Keeping your gutters clean. Always diverting water away from your foundation. What I'm seeing is a well-designed home with the roof line. We have original stucco vinyl siding. No matter what you do, there's always going to be some repairs. Hail impact is the worst enemy. So when we get driving rain and hail impact, vinyl siding is probably the more sensitive of the finished product. But overall, things that we look for, again, is venting. Some of these older homes didn't have enough venting, and now all of a sudden they start to add excessive amounts of insulation in the attic space. Well, all of a sudden we have no venting in the attic. We have black shingles, we have sun exposure, and everything that continues to affect the life cycle of a roof and the inside as well is how we get to understand air in, air out. And when you trap air, the excessive amounts of heat inside the attic can be very excessive. It's just maintenance. Gutters too start to fail, especially when we see excessive amounts of leaves and debris build up. And now come wintertime, if we're not cleaning them, like for example, this big massive spruce tree in the front, the needles and debris, these gutters have not been cleaned for a long time. So I'm seeing the weight of the gutters, they're starting to separate. So things that say we need to repair on a yearly basis. Maintenance. If you're investing in property, we need to keep care of things. And you can't just buy it, expect to do nothing. So that's my spiel. So when it comes to electrical, here we have a prime example of an overhead power line. Power lines coming in. Some of the power meters need to be updated to a certain point. When we're looking at inside our electrical, we're concerned about the age because in some homes we have aluminum wiring. So when we're looking at a home and we get to a certain point, we have to open up our panel. We have to define, in the older homes, we had no ground. So we have to look at some of these conditions. Looking at an older panel, we know in most cases that updating a panel will only provide us with ample options to provide. For example, this home has so much potential for a basement development, an additional kitchen space, and another washer dryer, but without the amount of power within the system, we have to consider upgrading. And for older homes, are we buying the home for the lot, or are we buying the investment? For me, when it comes to plumbing, copper, plastic, PEX pipe, poly B will always have an issue. There will always be a failure. It's when the industry catches things at an early stage, how does the insurance companies address it? It's always about maintenance and catching things at early stages, like toilets, for example. When toilets are overused and neglected, and you see failure from simply not tightening things up or catching them at early stages. So newer homes have as many failures if neglected as well. So we're dealing with maintenance on homes that, again, when you're investing that much money in a home, you want to be on top of things. The more you neglect, the more it's going to cost you. Other than that, yeah. Anything else on exterior? Landscape is always our biggest concern too. Downspouts. Simple comment about a downspout. When I walk into some of these homes and I see downspouts up, or I see the landscape has literally failed around driveways and foundations, now I'm concerned, well, come springtime, we're dealing with volume of water, but if we're not diverting water from your foundations, we're dealing with major problems. And new homes have the same problems. It's always diverting water. Older homes had no weeping tile, which means the perimeter of your home is relying on drainage away from your home. Newer homes have weeping tile, but now we're neglecting the downspouts. We still have failure. Sump pumps are a big comment. Everything that becomes an issue with a home, it's sometimes what happened in the past. Other than that, yeah, maintenance, guys, that's the big one.